Welcome to the Greatness Engineering Show, the space where leaders, innovators, and game changers reveal what it takes to rise, lead, and leave a mark. And this is your go-to show for your powerful insight and unfiltered journeys and the blueprint for building, your greatness and going to the next level of your greatness. So today we're going to India. We're going to talk about a very, interesting subject. My guest today is life architect and multifunction therapist and life coach Avrril Quadros. I think I hope I pronounced the name really well. She will be able to rectify if I'm pronouncing it the wrong way. And she has an interesting background after 2 decades as thriving as in the entertainment industry as an artist. She actually decided to switch to life architecture. So we will learn a little bit more about what it means, because I don't actually know what is a life architect, and that will be a good opportunity for us to know exactly what it is. The topic of today is using the path of least resistance to start healing and consciously create a life you love. So I think it's everybody will be recognize themselves into this type of topic, and I hope that you're going to be inspired today. So let us know where you're watching from. If you're watching live, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know if you have, any question, any insight. If you want to participate, just don't hesitate. This show is for you. We bring the people that I call greatness engineer for you to learn from their stories, learn from, their philosophy, the tools that they've used to get where they are, and also make sure that it helps you to go to the next level of your greatness. So we're going to start the show, and have your pen and paper to take notes, because I'm pretty sure you're going to learn a lot from Avrril today. So don't go anywhere. We're starting now. To another episode of the Greatness Engineering Hour show, the show that is brought to you by the Tilekima Global Leadership Organization.
Feel is important is if you just look at the word compassion, when it's behavior, it's something that can be learned, and it is something that we can embody through habits and through our daily action.
To get this idea that if we interject this wisdom intentionally, I call them needle movers. It's the needle mover that's missing.
Don't deprive the world of your greatness. Please. Don't do that anymore. Dare to excel, dare to be sexy, dare to be you, dare to be the best version of yourself. Impact yourself positively, and from there impact others, and you are not alone.
So we are here. So we will welcome April soon. I hope that she will be coming soon. I'm really looking forward to have this conversation with her on a very important subject, and which is, using the path of least resistance to start healing and a consciously created life. And she will be able to explain to us, her journey and how she switched from, being full-time, 2 decades in the entertainment industry and moving to become a life architect. So welcome Avrril to the Greatness Show. It is a pleasure to have you. And just before we start, embarking into, this very, inspiring subject, I just want you to, introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and what are the most important things that, the audience needs to know about you.
Thank you so much, Mirelle. And I'm very, very happy to be here. You've been very gracious and very authentic. And I like the way you said, even I don't know what a life architect is. And that's so authentic, and it was very endearing. So hello, everyone, from wherever you are watching from all across the globe. I'm Avrril Quadros, and I tagged myself as a life architect because I think life is all about how you build it, and you don't have to leave anything to destiny. You can choose to recreate the blueprint of your life at any age, and I'm the perfect example because after being in show business for actually, Morel, more than 3 decades, I
More than
decided
3 decades, right? Wow.
yes, I decided to take the leap and recreate my life in my late 30s. I
Mhm.
started exploring spirituality and got a message from one of my precious gurus, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And he said, we have so many singers and entertainers, but we don't have healers, and that's what the world needs. And those
Mhm.
words really resonated with me. And that's when I left my life in Bollywood in India. Bollywood is the biggest entertainment industry in the world. And I decided to leave it and to come back to Bangalore, where I stay now with my mother, and help people to recreate a life that they completely resonate with. So that's why I'm here, I guess, today also with you. And I think everything is divinely synchronized. I
Mhm.
don't think anything in life is a coincidence because I believe the universe is far too intelligent and the divine is far too intelligent for coincidences. I like to call them divine synchronicities.
Mhm.
So, everyone who's here on the call, people who will be watching also later, it's all divinely synchronized. So, I'm very happy to be here and thank you so much for being so gracious. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
We're very happy to have you, and I like the fact that you have this parallel between us building our life, because I don't think everyone thinks that we are the architect of our own life. So it's important to have this conversation and really remind people that we are at the center of our own life and we have to be the builder. We have to build it. And that's also one of the reasons I have this show, is that when we talk about engineer, we always think engineer in a scientific way or anything, but we are all engineer of our life. And that's important that we understand that we are at the center of our life. So I'm just gonna, just to complete the your introduction, just show a video to the audience, and so that they have a little bit more insight about what you do, and how you operate as a life architect.
Atma Namaste. I'm Avrril Quadros. Once upon a time, my stage was Bollywood. The lights, the fame, and the applause. Yet in the middle of all of it, there was a quiet voice inside me asking, is this really what I want? Is this really enough? And that question changed everything for me. It led me from the external world of performance into the inner world of healing, growth and transformation. My path shifted profoundly when I was blessed under the guidance of my personal guru, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. His teachings reminded me that true power is not in what we achieve on the outside, but in who we become on the inside. Today, I'm known as the Life Architect. I'm a certified Kundalini Yoga teacher, an energy therapist, an ICF PCC international coach, a mindfulness and meditation teacher, and a quantum therapist. I help people work with the roots of all fears, the deep belief of not being enough or not being good enough. In my sessions, we explore why negative emotions arise and how they get stored in the cells of the body. Together, we blend powerful protocols like Kundalini Yoga Kriyas, fascia release, heart math-based meditations, quantum healing, and deep integrative practices. Now, these experiences don't just help people release what's been in their body for years, what the body's been holding on to. They also open up new spaces inside where lightness, confidence, and deep peace naturally emerge. And perhaps you're already imagining what would it be like to feel free from the inside and to release what no longer serves you. My work, my dear friend, is not about therapy. It's about transformation. When you and I work together, you begin to design your life from a place of wholeness, worthiness, and power. And while you're listening, you may be already wondering, what would become possible for me when that old fear of not being good enough finally dissolves? If that's the journey you're ready for, then this is your invitation to connect with me. Because the life that you desire is already waiting. You just need to step into it. From my heart to yours, Atma Namaste and Satnam. Stay true to being you, my powerful one, because you matter.
It's all about transformation, really. And so I'm very curious to know, how this transition happened, what just tell us, how you went from, being in the light and in, Bollywood, being really, really focusing on the external world to coming into inside now, focusing on the inside world. So what were what were the difficult moment, the difficult part or the easiest part? How did you leave that transition?
Thank you, Mirel. So before I continue, I'm going to ask people to forgive me because it's a big festival in India. It's called Ganesh Chaturthi, and he's the god of new beginnings. And so you can hear a lot of crackers because they're taking processions out to immerse the idol. So there's nothing I can do about it. So if you hear any crackers, it's because we have a big festival on. And even though I've closed all the doors and windows, I've left a few windows open, but you can still hear some sound. So please bear with me. But it's a really auspicious time in India for new beginnings. So we couldn't have picked a better time to talk about this, Mirel.
Exactly.
So yeah, so a small caveat there. Coming to your question, thank you for asking. So when I was in Bollywood, I started really young. I started in show business really young when I was a teenager. And then I moved to Mumbai, or Bombay, as I like to call it still. And I was always in a hurry. I was always listening to other people. I was always fulfilling other people's agendas because that's what you do when you're in show business. You have a manager, you have an agent, you have people who tell you how to dress, and they even tell you how to think. So I was literally on autopilot, being something that I didn't truly resonate with, but at the same time, I was just 1 second. I don't know why something is happening on my phone. 1 second. I think the link was open on my phone and it was playing on my phone. Sorry. So at the same time, I felt a lot of discomfort and I felt very alone. I
Mm-hmm.
felt I felt I had no one to talk to. I felt a deep void within me, but I didn't do anything about it because I always thought, with money, with fame, with fans, with XYZ, I would feel better. And I was exposed to the whole gamut of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, as they say. But something within me always stopped me. And that really intrigued me because I could be in a space where people were doing all of the above, but I would never indulge. And I
Mm-hmm.
often wondered why, because it was the norm. And I was deeply religious at that time. So that could be a reason. I was brought up Roman Catholic. But there was something else, like, like an alter self, like an alter ego that always stopped me. And then, of course, life teaches you lessons when you're ready to learn. And when things are going well, you don't necessarily learn because you're blinded to the inside, because you're just so happy with material possessions and material success that, you're kind of floating on some kind of a cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And when life began to get tough because of unfulfilled relationships and managers and agents body shaming me, and people telling me to do certain things I really didn't want to do, that's when I really needed to take a step back and think, is this really all that there is? And after this, what? And
Mm-hmm.
coincidentally, at that time, um, I had a brush with energy healing. So I had a brush with energy healing, and I was going through a very tough marriage. I was in love with this person, but he turned out to be a very, very, um, and I'm just stating facts here. I have utmost compassion for him, but he turned out to be a very, very helpless alcoholic. And you can't help people who don't want to help themselves. So we went to therapy, we went to counseling, we tried everything, it didn't work. And at that point in time, I thought to myself, how long am I going to give this? Because I was the breadwinner of the family,
Mm-hmm.
primarily. And I just threw in the towel after 15 months because something inside me just broke. There was a lot of physical abuse, emotional abuse, and I couldn't take it anymore. I felt like my spirit was really crying.
Mm-hmm.
And so I walked out of a marriage there, and I was very much in love with my husband. I didn't leave out of the fact that I didn't love him or I hated him or I despised him. No, or it was actually the opposite. But a friend of his actually said something that really resonated. So a friend of his said, if you don't leave, either you will die or he will kill you. And then I thought to
Mm-hmm.
myself, yeah. And then I thought to myself, oh my God. And so once when he was he was drunk and he was sleeping it off, I just packed whatever I could. I put my things in my car. It was pouring rain. And I just drove back to my father's house. And I was very lucky because my father took me back. And, because in India,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes parents, they say, no, now you belong to your husband. You can't come back. It happens. But my parents were very, very forthright with me even before I got married. And they said, he's not the right person for you. But, I always say love is not just blind, love is deaf and dumb also. So, I mean, I was obviously besotted with the man. So, I made a mistake. And, but then the thing that really stands out for me, that stood out for me here is that even though I was ashamed of what I had done, I wanted to give myself a second chance. And then I said, let me now move out of this showbiz and let me look at something beyond. And I actually started energy healing Morel because the first person who needs healing is me, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they say God helps those who help themselves, and charity begins at home. it's quite literally the truth, because if you don't help yourself, I mean, you can't really help other people. So I said, let me focus on healing, and I don't want to go to a traditional counselor, therapist, coach, all the things that I am now. I said I want to clear out my energy. And so I did pranic healing, which is a very ancient healing practice, very much similar to Reiki. And
Mhm.
I healed, I got better, and then I began doing it for other people. And so it's my journey grew from there. So it actually happened because I needed a proverbial kick in the butt. And God gave me
Mhm.
exactly that through a broken marriage and through, people expecting me to do things that I really didn't want to do,
Mhm.
which I began to question. So I don't know if that answers your question.
That's actually answered the question, and you went, quite into detail. And just listening to you now that you've, basically healed yourself, transition, looking back, with everything that you went through, what do you think continue to contribute to guide you, guide your work today? What are the key lessons that you actually take from that journey that you've done and that transition that you can share with us?
Amazing. A couple of things come to mind. I'm just going to, talk about them as I can, put some words to it. The
Mm-hmm.
first thing is give yourself a chance.
Mm-hmm.
You're always better and more precious than you think you are. So the number one thing is people don't give themselves a chance because they think I'm too old, I'm too fill in the blank. And the second thing is there's a lot of fear attached to this,
Mm-hmm.
because, and I was full of fear. I mean, I can talk about fear now and I work with people through fears, because I was the most, I was the, you could scare me with anything. A pin could drop and I would be scared, because there was so much of fear in my energy, in the cells of my body. So I literally had to literally confront my fears, make friends with them, and move ahead. So the second thing is fear. And the third thing is there's always, so in Kundalini Yoga, which is the tradition I practice, we believe that we have two selves. One is the ego self, which we would call, for lack of a better, just to understand it better, the ego is the lower self and it's based in fear. And then we have the Satnam. Satnam simply means I am truth. And the
Mm-hmm.
truth is based in love. So love and fear can never coexist. So when you're in a state of fear, you can't be in a state of love. And when you are in love, you can't be in a state of fear. They just don't coexist, because the frequency of both these energies on the vibrational scale is like fear is right at the bottom and love is towards the top of the pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really mix them together. They can't exist in one person at the same time. You can go through them at different times, even during the day, or in a split second. If you probably see a tiger, you can move from love to fear. But generally, the fear that we're talking about is the fear of not being good enough, the fear of failure, these kind of fears. It's because you haven't really arrived and you're not
Mm-hmm.
staying in your satnam. So that's another thing that I realize now, that if I didn't trust my intuition and move into my higher self through my energy work and through the philosophy of Buddhism, because Buddhism is not a religion, it's just a philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, I always say Shakyamuni Buddha was the best and will continue to remain the best psychologist ever, because if you correlate his teachings to any psychology journals, because I'm a student of psychology, they're just saying things in a different way that he talked about in BC. So
Mm-hmm.
these three things, I think, if you can give yourself a chance, which I did, if you can make friends with fear, you can't fight with fear, you've got to make friends with it. So I wrote a book in 2021 which I dedicated to my late father, called You Should Be Scared: How
Mm-hmm.
7 Key Fears Can Set You Free. Because I found through my therapy with with clients, and I've told my clients stories. I mean, they've told their own stories. There are 5 of my clients, that you can't fight fear. When you fight fear, it
Mm-hmm.
fights back with you, because it's only trying to protect you. But when you make friends with fear and see it as an ally, as someone who's trying to help you and it's giving you a signal, that's when you can make that shift. And the third thing is to realize that we are all egotistical creatures because the ego is based in fear, and the main fear is the fear of survival. So if we can move from that into the Satnam or the truth of who we are, and each person's truth is different. I don't think, and these are my personal opinions through my experience and through what I believe authentically. I don't think your truth, Mirel, necessarily has to be the same as my truth. You true to yourself, and you can have your own values and ideals and your own truth and your definition of it. And I can have my own truth, and we can still be extremely good friends. It's But then when there's a conflict between your truth and mine, we can even talk about it. We don't have to adapt each other's. We can still remain true to who we are, and we can still have a beautiful conversation and be friends. So I think those three things for me, when I look back, those three things were the only things that I had. I didn't have any support from anyone or anything, of course, my parents, but I really didn't have any friends who I could count on. I just had to do this on my own, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did because I developed a dependence only on myself. Again, going within.
And that's the most important thing, because that's the only thing you can control. You can't control, whatever, how people are going to view things that you bring in. And that's really good that you've actually, developed that for yourself, and you also have control on all of this. So very powerful. I hope, whoever is watching, you have, taken notes, because these are really powerful key lessons that we April just, shared with us. Just want to say hello to one of the viewer here, Shaitan, who is watching with us today, and saying so great work, April. So really enjoying, what's going on. So we're gonna have a short break, and then we will be back to, continue and develop a little bit, more on the work that you're doing right now and how you're working with your clients as well. So don't go anywhere. We will be back in a few minutes. So we are back. We are back with April, and with talking about focusing our conversation on using the path of least resistance to start healing and consciously create a life you love. And so one of the question I have, April, is how do you believe people misunderstand the most about their life, and how do you help them to overcome this misunderstanding?
Okay. So I think, okay, so let me frame this in a better way.
Mm-hmm.
So people, I think, don't give themselves a chance because they are tied down by conditioning. I think a lot of how you view life happens between the ages of 0 to 7, and this is not me speaking. This is psychology, energy. It's just a fact because your subconscious mind is very open to suggestion at that time because children don't have the gift of language and they don't have the gift of discernment. So they're absorbing like sponges whatever you feed into their brain, into the conscious mind, and it bypasses the conscious and goes straight into the subconscious because the conscious is for to understand things logically. It's for
Mm-hmm.
reasoning. It's to make sense of things. But the subconscious mind, if you tell a child when the child is, really young, say 5 years old, that uh, Indians are not to be trusted, the child is not going to question why. He grows up thinking Indians are not to be trusted.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no filter of the conscious mind to ask questions. So children absorb. So think about what all children are absorbing from the time they are young: biases, especially negative biases, certain impressions about people, race, gender. Also, parents will tell children what they can and can't do. Unknowingly or knowingly, parents put their
Mm-hmm.
expectations on their children. I want you to grow up to be so and so, or I want you to, oh, this is good, or this. So children are basically absorbing all of this. And by the time they reach an age where they can question, they are now doubting themselves, and now they are thinking, I'll just let things remain the way it is, and I'll see later. Maybe now I'm staying in my parents' house, so I can't really rock the boat. But when I'm stable enough and I have my own money and my own job, I'll then see. But they never do it because it's very scary to change. The brain looks at change as a threat. It wants to
Mm-hmm.
keep you in some kind of a default mode network because all the brain really cares about, Mirel, is that you live. It doesn't care
Mm-hmm.
whether you're rich, you're poor, you're white, you're brown. It doesn't care. It doesn't care. It just needs you to be alive. So it will do whatever it takes to be alive. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the main thing that people misunderstand about their lives is, now I've reached a certain age. It could be 20, it could be 30, it could be 40. I've reached a certain age and things are just the way it is. I can't change. It's too late. I can't find the
Mm-hmm.
right partner. I'll never find that dream job. I'll never be rich. I'll never be able to open a business. These are misunderstandings that people have, that it's set in stone. And the truth
Mm-hmm.
is, it's nothing is set in stone because your energy is constantly moving. Right now, we're talking, and the 80 trillion cells in my body and your body are constantly moving. There are
Mm-hmm.
millions of cells dying in a second and millions of cells that are regenerating constantly. So if you think about it, you're always in a state of flux. There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
constant, nothing static. You're always in a state of flux. So I always think about, I should use this state of flux, and I tell my clients, use this state of flux to grow, because you're either growing forwards or you're moving backwards, and you're dimming your light,
Mm-hmm.
or you're regressing. So this is the biggest misconception, that things are set in stone and I can't do anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's difficult, like you said, when you've been raised that way, to really change everything. It's very difficult, knowing that there are things that are actually push you as well, forces, external forces, people, or other energy pushing you to stay in that box, if I can call it this way, and not get out. And it is very important. So do you have any success story that without obviously mentioning name, that you actually, someone that you work with, and then someone that you've actually helped to change that, that energy, that the energy that with this misconception that we've just discussed, and really start to get their power back, and really thrive from that.
Yes. There are so many stories because I've worked with so many people. But as you were asking, there's one particular story comes to mind that I think will hit home with a lot of people. So I was working with a very, very traditional Indian housewife. And she's from South India. She's from a state called Tamil Nadu, and a city called Chennai. And all she knew was how to be a housewife. She was married very early. She had a husband and she had a son. And when she came to me, she literally she couldn't even vocalize what she was going through. So I did an energy graph on her. I read her energy. I, understood where the blockages were. And she was going through a very, very, very tough marriage. And she wanted to move out, but her husband was not in agreement that they should get a divorce and move out. And also, she was very concerned about her son because he was at that very critical age where he was 13, teenager. So, a lot of hormonal imbalances, testosterone going high, young boys, no sense of identity. And so, he was also playing up. So, I worked with her for about 3 months. And what I did with her is I only shifted her energy. I didn't do any coaching with her. I didn't do any mentoring. I didn't do any counseling. I only worked on her energy for the first 1 month. So the three pillars in my company are called align, attract, and achieve. So alignment is when you work on aligning a person's energy, because still you don't align a person's energy, or they could do it for themselves or seek it through another provider. When you don't align your energy, you're constantly in a state of dichotomy. Should I, shouldn't I? Will I, won't I? So the energy is imbalanced. Once you align your energy, you work with trauma, you work with releasing energy which you don't need anymore, you work on your belief systems, your patterns, your subconscious programming. That's all your energy. And then you move into what we call attract. So in the second month, I worked with her, and she actually attracted an inheritance. So, what was stopping her is one, an abusive husband, and second, she didn't have a job. She didn't have any money. So how was she going to move out? So, when she came to me, even she didn't know that there was an uncle on her mother's side, a maternal uncle, who had, for some reason, and the universe is beautiful, right? I mean, it's always supporting you. For some reason, her uncle, 2 months earlier to her coming to me, just 2 months before that, he didn't have any children. So he willed his property to her. And the value of the property was $500,000.
Wow.
And she came in, maybe in week 6, and she was crying. And I said, "Oh my God, what's happened to her now?" And she hugged me, and I said, "What happened?" And she said, "You won't believe, I have a house I can move to with my son." And
Ooh.
so she attracted a $500,000 property. And then she opened her own catering business, because what she did was very smart. I said, "You don't need a $500,000 property. So you can leverage this property, you can sell it, move into a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment, and with the other money, do something that you're good at." And she opened her own catering business. And I'm so happy to tell you that now she's one of the top 10 cloud kitchens in the city of Bangalore. One of the top
Wow.
10 cloud kitchens. Her son did 1 or 2 sessions with me, and he was absolutely fine. And she's got her divorce. She's been very successful for the last 6 years. And it was just amazing. It worked because align, attract, and achieve happens absolutely flawlessly. It's a natural progression. Once you align what you want, once you align your energy, once you attract what you want, you're bound to achieve anything else because it just fits in. Like attracts like. So the achievement is absolutely effortless. So that's one thing that came to mind.
Wow, that's such a powerful story, isn't it? And you don't believe it until you go through it, I think, and that's really what I can say, because if you just came in and didn't, tell told her that this is how it was going to be, she would have not believed it, given the situation in which she
Absolutely.
was. So
Yeah, because
it is important that she goes
I
through
mean,
all of this. Mm-hmm.
I mean, she really thought that I must. She said, you're too She told me, she was always crying because she had so much
Mm-hmm.
trauma. She had a lot of mother wounds. Her mother abandoned her when she was a baby. She was brought
Mm-hmm.
up by her mother's sister. So there were multiple things happening here. So we had to do a lot of mother wounding, healing with her. And she used to always cry. There was never a day, Mirel, in the
Mm-hmm.
first 4 months where she didn't cry. And when I say cry, howling, because we
Mm-hmm.
had to get the pain out through certain therapies. And she would just howl. She would never speak to me. She would just cry and cry and cry and cry. And one day she told me, I think I'm a lost cause. You're just wasting your time on me. And I said, no, it'll happen. The magic will happen. Just believe in yourself. And then when it happened, even her face changed, her
Mm-hmm.
body changed. And she found love with a man who was in her community, especially in India, to fall in love with a man who's 10 years younger than you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But she didn't care because she was successful. She fell in love with a man who she met at her gym, 10 years younger than her, and they're very happy now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something that she would have never think about before. So that's fantastic to see this type of transformation. So we're gonna have you, on this really, beautiful story. We're gonna have another break, and we will, reflect on the legacy, because whatever we do, I think we have to think about the legacy that we want to leave. But let's have a break, and then we will be back with you, April. Welcome to another episode of the Greatness Engineering Hour show, the show that is brought to you by the Mireille Telekima Global Leadership Organization.
When I left Disney, I met lots of people who are entrepreneurs and just said, look, I'm starting. What advice do you have for us? And I got some great advice. And there was a few things that were key. First of all, and as you saw in the video there, keep it simple. Be simple about what problems you solve.
But what are you hoping for? That means that there's a future. That means that there's something that you yet still need to be realized and materialized in your life. And if you have lost hope and you're not hoping for something, that means you're lost. So we need to get you back to the place of being able to hope again.
Trust the process. So many times we get stuck and paralyzed from taking the first step and taking action to get out of that transactional to the transformational of our own lives because we're afraid. But trust the process. Take that one little microscopic step. And I tell you that once you do that, that will increase into another step and another step and another step. So that's what I'd like to leave with you today.
My message for today is delay is not denial. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to accomplish what it is you want to accomplish in life. Do not stop until you get what it is you know God has for you.
Vanakkam. This is Dr. Shrivati Kesin, founder CEO Space Kids India. Shakti Sat. Yes, the mission to the moon. We intend building a satellite and putting it in lunar orbit with an all-girls team globally. Yes, you heard it right. 10,800 children globally will be handpicked, and then subsequently 108 children will be building this satellite. Women leaders from across the globe, if you want to be a part of this historic mission, come join us. Be a bridge between Team Shakti Sat and your country. Join us, babies, because we believe world is one. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. One earth, one home. Give power to the girls.
So we are back. We are back with April, and there is your journey is, like I said, it's really an interesting one. But when you reflect, on both chapter of your life, which is the showbiz, and now more into the spiritual side of things. So what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
I think I think I shy away from the word legacy, Morel, because I sometimes think, hmm, that's such a heavy word for me, because I think I'm just getting started. But I understand that your question comes from a space of giving back and from a space of
Mm-hmm.
leaving something behind that
Mm-hmm.
people can fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at my legacy, I think I chose many paths in my life that were not the path of least resistance. I wanted things to be hard. I thought, if it's hard, it's worth it. And healing needs to be hard, and learning needs to be hard. And I think this is a common narrative, especially with women, and
Mm-hmm.
especially with people when they're doing work on themselves. You see a lot of people, even providers, who you look at maybe on YouTube, they say, oh, but this is going to be a tough road. And I say, don't take the tough road. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be tough. I want to leave a legacy back that tells people that healing can be fun. It can be, a completely a new experience for you to get to know the real you. And it doesn't have to be tough. The moment you say something is going to be tough, it becomes tough. But if you say,
Mm-hmm.
let me just go with the flow, put one step in front of the other, literally like a car with headlights on, you can only see 10 feet, and then you see another 10 feet and another 10 feet. The road opens up for you. And I think the healing journey should be not set in stone, but it should be just an adventure that you put a backpack on and you just say, let me just go. So I want people to understand that healing is literally the easiest thing that you can ever embark on, but only when you're ready. And so the
Mm-hmm.
latest thing that I've been doing with people, Morel, is frequency therapy. Because there are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people who are resistant to change because of XYZ, and because it is painful for people to confront their past. Not everybody is ready all the time. In fact, a lot of people are not ready, and sometimes they may be forced into it. So it becomes difficult. But with frequency therapy, a person doesn't need to really go into their trauma, because the frequency reads you and gives you the frequency you need. It doesn't have to be done through a therapist, or through a coach or through a mentor. It's done through a technology. And that is the path of least resistance, which is going to be the new form of healing for people. And that's a legacy that people like me who do
Mm-hmm.
frequency therapy with people want to leave behind. I want to leave this, I want to do as much frequency therapy as I can while I'm alive with people. And I've already worked with more than 200 people using frequency therapy. And the stories have been miraculous. People
Mm-hmm.
healing from tumors, from autoimmune disorders faster than any medicine or any other healing modality has worked. And I've been doing this for more than 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the path of least resistance for people. And people are more than welcome to connect with me, and everything is backed by science. It's a scientific technology that's available. You don't need any to believe in anything. You, even if you don't believe in God or whatever, it doesn't matter, because energy is something that we all have, and we're
Mm-hmm.
using your own body's energy to heal you. So it's not coming from me, it's not coming from XYZ. It's your energy, and your energy is healing you. Because guess what? Your body wants to heal always.
Mm-hmm.
The legacy for people that I would like to leave them with is the path of least resistance is the path you should choose. And whatever suits you, you should do that. And don't let anybody tell you that this is right and this is wrong. Make it your own experience. And then, things will open up for you in miraculous ways where you look back and think, oh my God, that was so interesting. What an
Mm-hmm.
amazing way this happened for me. Divine synchronicity. Things will just fall into place.
Fantastic. And that's powerful because, we always look for external things, and to heal ourselves. But then you're telling, you have the energy and you will be healed by your own energy. So you really look at yourself. You don't depend on anyone to get the healing that you're looking for. Fantastic.
Yeah,
And
Marie. Just
say
one
again.
thing I just wanted to mention
Mhm.
that, even if you went to a traditional allopathic doctor, the medicine that the doctor is giving you is just a catalyst. If your body didn't accept the medicine, you would never heal.
Mhm.
So the healing is happening from within you. So even when you go to a psychiatrist or a psychoanalyst or a therapist or whoever it is, we are only tools. We are
Mhm.
only conduits. We don't do anything. We just show you how. But then if you
Mhm.
don't want to do it, nothing can help you. Like they say, right? I mean, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So in any form of medicine or therapy or any kind of, intervention, it's literally an intervention, but your body is literally healing itself. If your
Mhm.
body decides not to heal itself, which it never does, unless you have a lot of toxicity which it's trying to get rid of, then you will heal automatically. So
Mhm.
it's always happening from the inside out. Healing never ever happens from the outside in. And another thing I want to tell people is, do not give away your power to a coach, a mentor, a healer, a guru. Do not give your power away. His Holiness, who's one of my gurus, told me, he says something very powerful. He says, check on your guru like you're a spy. Check what he
Mhm.
does in his private time. Check whether his message is really what he's doing when he's not on stage. Check, check, check all the time. And when you're convinced that he walks the talk, only then take him as a guru. Because then he is going to guide you on this path of life. So I always tell people, I can help you as a conduit, but I'm not special and I'm not better than you. I have my own worries, my own troubles, my own insecurities, but I've accepted them. So always trust your Satnam. Don't hand your power to somebody else, because you know what? No one is more powerful than you. No one.
Mhm. Wow, that's really a powerful statement, to finish this conversation. No one is more powerful than you. Trust yourself, trust your energy, don't trust somebody else. Just don't give away your power. So fantastic. So how do people, because obviously with the time, we can't really talk about everything. So how do people connect with you to continue this conversation, or if they want to get more insight from you?
So I think I've given you. So I will send you my social media handles. I'm very 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 active on Instagram, so they can get in touch with me
Mhm.
on Instagram. I'm very active on YouTube, and I think I'll give you a number that you could probably put in the show notes where they can WhatsApp me, and I'm very happy to help people, because I really believe in connecting with people one on one. When they come to me, because I value each person, and I don't want it to go through my PA or through my team. I want it to come directly through me. So I read every message. And if they WhatsApp me, I'll be happy to do an energy reading for them, to tell them where they are. And then the rest is up to them, because my whole intention is to serve people in whichever way serves them best, not me. So if they're happy to connect with me, I'm very happy to connect with them. And before I finish, Mirel, you've been, the first time I spoke to you, we connected so deeply, because I see
Mhm.
genuinity, I see authenticity, I see you as a very passionate person, and I know that you're a very accomplished engineer and you've done so much, in the corporate space. And I really like the title of your show, the Greatness
Mhm.
Engineering podcast, or the Greatness Engineering Show, because that's what human beings aim to be:
Exactly.
great. And each of us is great in our own unique
Mhm.
way. And you've got such amazing guests on your podcast before, and I'm very humbled to be one of them. And I wish more people follow you and watch this podcast, and I'll do everything I can to send it out to everyone I know. And keep continuing the great work you do. And you've got the most beautiful, beautiful smile and the most deep eyes. So I just wanted to compliment you on that.
Thank you so much, and I'm so happy you actually went, you came to the show, because this energy is needed. And like I always tell, all the, my audience is, we have this greatness, and we have to understand that it's there and unleash it. And with people like you, with your message, they will actually see that it's possible. And that's an important thing. So people, make sure you go to the next level of your greatness. It's dynamic. There's more, to come. You just have to accept who you are. You have to accept that you are in control. Don't give away your power. And it's been an inspiring, very inspiring session today. And I hope if you want to connect with Avrril, we're giving you all the platform. So Instagram, YouTube, and I will also share the phone number for, if you want to connect with her on WhatsApp, so she can, share more, because obviously in 1 hour, it's difficult to, for her to talk about everything. So make sure you connect with Avrril. And I really want to thank you again for your time, Avrril, for being, available to share some of your work and to share your story, because that's very important, sharing stories, understanding where everything that you're doing, the journey, how you started, and how it brought you here. So thank you very much again. And I will be back for another episode of the Greatness Engineering Show pretty soon. And as usual, I'm going to bring you those greatness engineers creating positive value and making a difference wherever they are. So thank you very much, Avrril, again, and you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much, Mirelle, and thank you, everyone. Stay blessed.
Thank you.